Hello. Today is November 4th, 2024. Whew, it's been a long day, okay? Um, Here on the Adroit Living session of the Erudition Network, I like to um, help with mental health. There's a global mental health crisis, and I just try to do my part. Normally, I'm in the background. I do a lot and I write stuff down, write plans down, and I give it to the people that want to be in the forefront. But I'm doing this trying to help a little bit more and help people that um, I I can reach via the internet. So pardon me, I'm like, this is just not. I don't like the camera, the lights, all the action. I don't like all that. But I try, do my best because I like to volunteer my time. And there's been a new method of reaching people called the internet. So I'm using that. Okay, so I have an icebreaker till we get people on because this is an interactive show. So feel free to comment. Um, so I have an icebreaker, okay? So before we get into the the episode. Wait, what do you mean? Hi Eddie, happy to see you here. What do you mean? Is my mic right? I don't know. I guess we'll get that. We'll see that at the same time. What is it? Oh, here we go. Is that better, Eddie? I think that might be better. Okay, so I have an icebreaker, so y'all bear with me. So this week a young lady asked the question of me. She had a Freudian slip. What does that mean? That means how you really feel. You know what I mean? So she said, "You think highly of yourself, don't you?" And I'm like, huh? I'm like, has there ever been a time when asking someone who truly thought highly of themselves improve things because you asked that question? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So anyway, um, me being quick to the slow, well, too quick to the slow. I didn't even understand where anyone could conclude, her question because, since I was a tiny Tina, I'm gonna tell you, since I was a tiny Tina, the word why or the question was the most dangerous and stupid question you could ever ask. My elders must not have had, patience for my always asking why. So you want to find yourself picking yourself up off the floor real quick. Ask why. Ask the question why. you go, it's gonna be a problem. So do I think asking why or showing um making statements that show I don't know something makes me high and mighty or something? I don't understand. I'm not linking. There's no correlation there. I can't understand that. But yeah, I was very much younger than everyone else around me, and my questions of asking why, you know, I was like, I didn't understand why that was annoying my elders, but I guess my everybody else, all the young people around me had already stolen my elders' patience, because I remember asking why and Big Mama responding like, "Ooh, she cursed me clean out." I was just a tiny little thing. I couldn't hold no weight on me for nothing. And I was frail, and it was like I'm that. So I would do everything that I can to avoid, asking why. So because I was afraid. And I would be like, okay, God, I don't want to ask why. You don't want to ask Big Mama why. And she just clearly cursed you clean out and told you in so many expletives. Watch the content in the context, and
read the clues. So basically, she said, read the room. Just understand. And if you couldn't, I'm just saying. So that was something as a little bitty girl. I just pray. I'd be like, oh God. And I didn't even know no God. I ain't know no God. So I was like, oh God, help me. Because I don't want to ask why again. But unfortunately, I didn't know any better than to ask or show that I didn't understand something. So it'll slip out again. Whoo, God. God help me though, because God will give it to you. That's why I have later since come to say to people, um, you know, pray God give it to you because he will. Now rewind and understand how that works. But at the same time, like I've said in previous episodes, I don't know the panacea to move God. There is none. And if you read the book of Job, I know everybody reads something different when they read, but it shows that even though you might be, really great or have a close connection with God or be the best in the land even, um God say he's sovereign. He gonna do whatever he want. And Job said really wisely, you can do what you want, God, but though you slay me, I'm still gonna trust you. I'm not stupid, or no, he said I'm not foolish enough to curse God and die. But he was very wise in his request, which was a workaround. And God was like, you ain't slick, boy. You ain't slick. Don't ask me that because you don't know. Don't lean to your own understanding. I wrote some stuff down, but I'm just gonna wing it. I don't know if I'm gonna get through the whole thing, but I'm gonna wing it. So, okay, I had wrote something on Facebook, and I wanted to go to that because I there's some things I wanted to talk about. In the previous episode, I spoke about some things and I want to elaborate a little bit on a particular aspect because I said that the topics are so deep and have such deep implications that it does deserve further elaboration. There's a call and response that we're seeing these days, and it's taking this grandest platform in the Black church. I don't know why. Do you know why? I think somebody wrote a book. Pastor Razor wrote a book. It might help you to understand why. Biblically Black blessed. I believe it's biblically blessed and black and blessed. One of the two. Pastor Henry L. Razor. Grab that book. Somebody put it in the link in the comments. I stated in my Facebook post because I was tired of seeing people misusing their platforms and having a title in the highest position outside of politics. They're using the establishments of faith to perpetuate a misinformation, a misguided information that has nothing to do with what we should be doing. We're fighting man against woman, and we shouldn't be doing that. It is not okay because it's a lot of women out here that's in dangerous situations because people are trying to obligate men to buck against a woman. She's fragile. I don't care how much muscle she has on her. She's still fragile. And a man is not designed to buck up against a woman, especially not physically. So in my point, I said anyone using their their faith platform to promote the ideas plain and clearly written out in Project 2025 is clearly not exercising the wisdom repetitively written um, in various books of faith. Sorry, I keep losing my place. Repeatedly written in various books of faith, like the Bible. If you have ever questioned the leadership of anything in your life, you should understand now. Why did I say that? because a lot of times people don't question their leadership, so they don't have any idea of these things that trigger the questions. It's not necessarily a question of why, but at the root of it, it is why. Because it's like, why would you say that? Why are you doing this? What's wrong with you? So that I know that last one wasn't a why, it was a what. But I'm just saying that's the what's wrong with you is the baseline of people questioning with why. But anyway, I continued on to say just before the first nomination of Trump was announced, churches were questioning the validity of an education. However, it's written in the Bible, study to show yourself approved, directed to all genders. How's any faith leader questioning the validity of studying? I don't know. The reason why I said that is because how can you be a church leader and you reading from the Bible and you're preaching from that, or should I say elaborating on the words you just read to help people understand? So if it's written in the Bible, study to show yourself approved, I don't understand how you're asking anybody what's the validity, how much um, should we put on education, how much value should we trust or feel like that's a good thing. Like, wait, what? Didn't I? But I continued on because it was for a time such as these to blindly follow man as a, ignorantly, without knowing, without understanding, and without questioning. And that's what the Project 2025 was about. And it reprehends um, even fatally anybody that should question or go against what's being said. But read it for yourself, come to your own understanding. But I continued on to say, lastly, how often do churches read from the Bible, then teach from that scripture? Yet churches have not read anything within Project 2025 to their audiences, followers, or following them, while they also urge their audience to blindly trust who the faith leaders say to support as the next American leader. If nothing more, followers understand observed patterns and it's triggering their discernment. And that is what we are seeing in the call and response. So, anyway, I continued on. I stated contrived behavior for what purpose? Now, I've said that we've seen these contrived behaviors being perpetuated and taught. And I said it for a reason. I'm trying to help you understand this pattern, this path, um, because blind followership, it is designed for the purpose of blind followership. However, God gave everyone free will, discernment, and urged people to exercise wisdom because everyone must work out their own salvation. Meaning, by your own decisions, you will reap what you're sowing, despite excuses. You can't tell somebody, well, I was following that person's leadership. I trusted them telling me that this is what I should do. So that's why I did. That's why I made the decisions that I made, because they the leadership, they're the trusted authoritarians in these matters and these endeavors. So I just went ahead with what they said. You can't do that, because you giving up your own free will to go along with what they saying and doing, but that was your choice. And by your choice, you're going to live through, you're going to reap what that is. So I continued on to say that people should love God enough not to blame him that you followed man blindly because you love man. Love, but exercise wisdom. I'm open to this, using this time to, have any wise discussion absent of emotion and fact based. Because a lot of times we get into our emotions and we cannot discern what from our emotions and facts when we really are innately seeking facts. Like, what is this? I need to understand. And there goes that why that I was talking about. Hey, Pastor Lonnie, thank you. Lonnie, thank you. I appreciate it. Please feel free to comment. So in the comment, I elaborated just a bit so people can understand. Because I know a lot of people that they're busy or they're asleep at night, and I can only come on when I can. So here we go. So I, in the comments, stated when the Black community in America was fighting for equal rights to be as well educated as white Americans during MLK Jr.'s era, the facts were well spoken internationally and well supported by the leadership in American churches. It wasn't just the Black churches, but I don't know why we overemphasize the Black churches, but I do. I'm just saying, seemingly mainly due to their decisions being based on innate discernment and a strong walk with God. Strong faith and confidence in discernment was seemingly derived from being fed up with diverse oppression from man. Therefore, the ideology or the lesson was well understood and established. MLK Jr.'s leadership and his behaviors were rooted in the fact that the Bible urged constantly repeated throughout for people to study, i.e., read for yourself or perish for the lack of knowledge. Since the beginning of the brick and mortar schools, which is also business in the form which tries to supersede boundaries of division to reach everyone despite anything. The overall objective has been to create a culture where people have predicted patterns of behavior. That's the overall reaching goal for the brick and mortar school, because they want to predict, even if they must contrive it so that they can predict the pattern of your behavior, which is also your decision making, to include your leadership following. So whether you blindly follow people or not, or you actually read the study for yourself. I've heard a whole lot of PhDs and eggheads, as y'all might call it, say things like, oh, if you want somebody to have access to the truth, put it in a book. They ain't gonna read it. And then tell them whatever you want, but always tell them, go read the book. They're not gonna read it. It's a terrible thing. But anyway, I continued on in the comments to say such an understanding has proven to be a significant influence on people's behavior when it comes to reading for yourself. They well understood, that if you read something for yourself, you're going to come back with an understanding totally different. And I wrote a book. And in that book, you might be able to understand why we all come back with something different. And it's like, you if you don't know what books to read, you won't know this information. Generational wealth, information asymmetry, and your success. And your success is available on lulu.com and Amazon. Just ask. It's also wherever. Just ask for it. If you but you can see it. You can readily see it on those platforms that I just mentioned. Anyway, I continued on to say these things of trying to contrive people's behavior for the purpose of blind followership to whomever is being told by a trusted person or authoritarian to follow the person blindly. That was one of the overreaching goals, and it's caused or is led to or contributed to the blind followership of man, and not for the purpose of leading all men to God, which is what Jesus did. As Jesus kept saying, his own behavioral patterns were intended to lead people back to God. And it should have been perceived as much, despite man's orthodoxy. They had all these orthodoxies when Jesus was there, and Jesus was like, yeah, I'm aware that that's what y'all do, but this is the way. Despite your boundaries, despite genders and the sins and how dirty, because we all made of clay, we all come from the dust of this earth, and we'll all return unless some be raptured. So it's like you can't call somebody out and not understand that you calling yourself out too, because we the same. Anyway, I continued on to say Jesus loved man enough to die for us all. No one can, no one can be, more or as devoted, because it's only required we all be unwavering in our efforts to study to show ourselves approved. It's written, men lead, women help meet, all for the united purpose of drawing all men to God. Men leading innately means, here we go, his helpmeet is capable of leading because she can sway him even without a word. Y'all gotta read that Bible. It's a sacred book. And in previous episodes, I tell you why it's a sacred book. It's because people were altering information. But anyway, a man going the wrong way, for example, a woman, is written that a woman can sway that man without so much as a word. Have you ever had a good woman in your life? I don't mean just sexually. I mean, period. Have you ever had a good woman in your life and you decided to go a way that she can't follow? Did you ever find yourself going right back to where she was because good woman? You knew you lost a good thing. You know you needed that guidance. You needed that comfort. You needed that nourishment. You needed everything she provided. So you found yourself trying to get back there. Whether you were able to or not, you found yourself trying to get back there because it's innate in us that's what we want to do. That's what we long for. But anyway, you can look for Tina Phillips on Facebook in order to find, that. But I urge people, to read and study for yourself, study to show yourself approved. This call and response situation is bigger than what people are trying to lead you to understand. And it's like, how is it predicted that a lot of people will not know? I'm telling you, because they know that people won't read the books. They know that people will listen to misinformation despite their innate discernment, which is tugging at them saying, hey, something wrong here. It's like, are y'all reading? This is the call and response. Are y'all reading? That's the call. It's a question. The response is, heck no. Make it make sense. This is the overall callback. That's the overall response. The call is the thing, is taking the temperature for a reason. It's, will you read? And the response is no. How people or oppressors or leaders and the entire world will know what to do or how to behave and what to expect. That's what, when they're taking the temperature, that's what they're finding out, so that these people know how to predict and how to move and do things and just what they can get away with. There's a response that's been greatly perpetuated, especially in social media. It says, make it make sense. But it further challenges you. It say, make it make sense without any individual effort from those expected to have individual contributions which positively contribute to society, thereby justifying my stubborn will to not act. That's the further challenge, because it's like, make it make sense, but is it going to obligate me to do something? That's the problem. That's the problem. It's not made to obligate you to do anything. Facts are stubborn. They're not obligating you to do anything. It is a compelling of your spirit that won't let you sleep, that won't let you eat, that won't let you enjoy things the way you used to, the way you accustomed to, the way you want to, because your spirit is compelling you to move or act and in a particular way. And a lot of times it's against the thought that people have already, um, you know, pre predicted, because they understand you were contrived, um, because they were the ones teaching you, and they were the ones writing the scripts that someone else conveyed the messages to you. I'm just going to say it. Another call and response you may not have noticed was the Karen. You see how everybody calling out the Karen, and how ugly and vile and degrading and undesirable a name such as Karen has, or has come. Now think about it. We was previously talking about the twisting of narratives. We acknowledge it, and there's multiple complexities that's occurring at the same time as something else that's really dramatic and happening. And we're like, man, it's so many things that's happening. But philosophers centuries ago said we understand these things, and this is what's perpetuating that global mental health crises, because we know it, we see it, and it's like, I really don't want to be bothered with it, but I got to be bothered with it. Let me tell you, because you might not know, because you might not have read it in that book. In Job chapter 44, verses 14 and 15, it states how Job had, after all the things he went through and God blessed him with more than what he had allowed to be taken from him, he had a daughter named Karen, and Karen was the most fairest in the land. Okay, the most fairest in the land. That has definitely been twisted with the foul and obscene behaviors we've labeled as Karen. Why not Tina? Why not call it Tina? Why not call it Jane Doe, Jane Dodo Bird, or something like that? Something more fitting. Why did it have to be Karen? Because it's a twisting. It's a twisting. And we're not seeing it because nobody's pointed out to us. I said it because that is what God told us to do. Yeah. And it's like, even if you didn't know that that's what God told you to do, it's something innate in you that's like drawing you and pulling you. But it's like, I don't know what to read. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe and understand. Don't believe nobody. Read it for yourself. Ask them where they get it from and read it for yourself. Anyway, it's like the general population acknowledges twisted narratives. At the same time, the response seems to be validate the brokenness and keep it going. That's not biblical, though. It's not wisdom. It's not your destiny. Do you understand that? Your destiny is to thrive, enjoy your life, family, and prosper, unless by your own free will you give it up, like the guy in the Bible who gave up his inheritance and later wanted it back. It didn't work out so good for him, because once you give it up, it's like, what? You can't take it back from me. It's mine now. There's nothing new under the sun. That's what I'm trying to tell you. These ancient books of the Bible were unaltered in these ways. Even though there's some interpretations that seem to try to alter some things, the baselines is still there. It's still intact. The understanding is still able to be had if you read for yourself. And like I said in my episode, definitions hit different pendant perspective. That's why when you read the Bible, you get these different types of understanding. It hit different because there's so much repetition in it. And the reason why is because it says it's written so that even a fool will understand. And it says a fool, a person who don't believe, a person who doesn't believe in God. And you don't have to believe in God. That's what it's saying. You don't have to believe. You still gonna understand, because it's written for you to understand, whether you believe or in your unbelief and in your belief. Facts have nothing to do with labels of religion, but everything to do with individuals' faith in God. It's innate in you already, and you'll begin to hone that the more you study for yourself. You see, Jesus didn't give a label to his behaviors, um, and despite labels of normatives used to divide people, Jesus performed miracles which, you know, led all men, to include women, to God. It led everybody back to God because he, he was absent of labels. He was like, yeah, that's great. You got that label. Great. But here's the way. Yeah, you labeled as a leopard. Yeah, you labeled as somebody who did. Yeah, these labels have nothing to do with the creator who created you. He wants you to challenge him with these various challenges, even in your unbelief, especially in your unbelief. I think it's more entertaining for God to do it for the people who don't believe, before you believe. It's examples everywhere, and it is triggering individuals' innate discernment because people innately want to commune with God for themselves. These bouts of men against their helpmeet, which Adam named woman, then wife, and later known as a good thing if you're tracking it in the Bible, a good thing, which was a good thing long before being called wife. And now we're back to the good, the God-given name, helpmeet. So it's like you changing a person's name, but you're still talking about the same person. And even now, we still talking about that same person, that woman that you're trying to buck up against. And it's like, why? Because such a time as these were coming, where we would have to have a change. We see all these men's leadership is leading to all of this death, famine, war, rumors of war. And we like, man, we got to do something different. We got to do something different and stop trying to make excuses and say things like, oh, a woman, she'll start a war every month. Have you not seen what we've been living? Have you not seen things that's happening overseas? Have you not seen, or even if you don't read the Bible, have you not seen what's going on around us? This thing is real. And it doesn't matter what your labels are, it's happening. But what I'm saying is there's nothing new under the sun. Even if you don't read, talk about, you know, the miracles that you experience all the time. Even if you didn't believe and you looking like, why did this miracle happen for me? It is not because a label of your belief or unbelief. It is because it is innate in all of us to, what you say? It is innate in all of us to go back with God. Okay, okay. I don't know what that was about, but I'm gonna keep going. Um, these bouts with men against their help me isn't helpful to the men, and it's causing a lot of um mental problems even with them. But moving on, even if you don't have burnt offerings to God, or God's, you like, well, I think God hear me because I'm sinning. He hear you. He hear you because he hears all of us. And it's like, that's why Jesus came. So he will hear you. Just try him out for yourself. But it's not about religion. This is about facts. So I'm not trying to turn this show into a religious, type of platform. The facts are rooted so deeply in history and preserved in sacred books of faith. I'm just saying, before people start asking, what Orthodox religion am I pushing here? Am I freezing? I'm sorry. I hope y'all can still hear though. And the reason why I said that I'm not pushing the Orthodox faith is because those things, in my opinion, were normatives that were used to distract and divide, because I've not seen any evidence to the contrary. So I'm pushing facts and accrediting all the sacred books of faith, which protect the unchanged uh, evidence, which illuminates the facts and triggers people's innate discernment, which I'm sorry, there's some things happening in the background. They trying to take care of it. Um, but these facts have triggered people's innate discernment, and they're like, we're not going back. We're not going back to a time where we're once again asking for, oh, we want this, then find out when we get ourselves deep up in it, that ain't what we wanted. That ain't what we wanted. We don't want to buck up against the women who are help meets, who are helping us and doing everything that we need them to do, even in our weakness. And I'm not just talking about men, I'm talking about women too. Women have weaknesses, and we don't want to disenfranchise the help that they provide for us. I am oh, what'd you say? We hear you, and it's intermittent. It's snowing a bit, so it might be causing lag. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The weather, we having some weather. But the call and response, when you see it, you can't stop seeing. So when you see the phenomenal, the phenomena of the spirit moving, it's not exclusive to a name, a label, a person. Even it's something that we are seeing, and it's like it's triggering us. It's like you catch a glimpse of something, and you're like, what was that? And it distracts you for a moment, but it was a good distraction, because now you've been led away from something that was going to happen in the location you was in, and it was going to hurt you had you not been distracted to get away from there just in enough time. You ask, make it make sense, because you saw that distraction. But then you further challenged to make it make sense, and you don't want to have any kind of like feeling to be obligated to respond. And here it is. Here it is. And what is that? That's the compelling of the spirit. I'm not obligating you to do anything. I'm not obligating you to change. Jesus didn't obligate you to change neither. He said, but this the way. You do what you're going to do, but here's the way. Now your innate discernment is triggered, and it's moving you because your innate will to thrive was given when God first called your name, and you were conceived in your mother's womb, before anybody ever uttered your name outside of God speaking it to your parents to call you that. You know, it's like we're not teaching it in that way for people to understand, what is this thing? Why is this on me? What is this? The book is concerning it's like the Bible, the books of faith. They're tugging at you, and it's like you it's like, okay, but I'm not gonna read that, so you got to tell it to me in a way that makes me feel like, okay, I don't, it's okay for me to not read, and then so justify my will to not act or not do anything. And it's like, man, I can't justify that. All I can do is keep trying to reach you, and I can only do it for as much time as I'm told that I could be okay doing it. So, somebody, you say you don't know what book to read, and you don't know what information to trust. Well, let me show you something. This right here is going to help you get back to your formal logic. It's going to help you to hone your formal logic. Generational wealth, information asymmetry, and your success. Information asymmetry, there's a deeper implication there that I can't get to in all one episode, but binge watch the old episodes, and it'll bring you here. So what I'm saying is, it's God. I can't, lie about that. And I ain't dumb enough to assume the credit, knowing I'm clay, meaning the world, you know, the world can say whatever they want, but I'm still clay, and I ain't trying to take credit for anything that God doing just because I'm the one that's saying it. You know, I know better. You know, Job said he wasn't foolish enough to to curse God and die. And later he explained to God he didn't even know he was sinning against God by his request in his affliction, amid his affliction. He was like, I didn't know that, you know, I was sinning yet again by asking you that if I sin so much against you, I know you said you forgive me, and I'm worthy of the afflictions that you deemed me. I'm not asking you no questions. I'm just saying, look, if I hurt you that bad, just don't let the day I was born happen. Just don't. And God said, look, little boy, look at little boy. I didn't ask you before I said, let the separate the darkness from the light and let it be called day and night. I didn't ask you, but when I took man and said, I'm a changed man to separate his body to create a woman, and ask your understanding for anything I told you to do or don't do, and ask you nothing. And that's the part of the sovereignty that people even now today are trying hard to grasp and accept, and ask you to accept it. It just is what it is. And you're going to do despite, just like Job, despite his understanding, though you slay me, yet will I trust. And that's only to God. It ain't to man. If man keep digging at me, I'm going to ask God, hey, God, look, for real though, won't you let me lay the Holy Ghost on them? Just let me, you know, and then you get into it and you finally able to put them paws on them, and you lose yourself. You dwell there a little too long. Like Jonah in the belly of the whale was like, I don't wanna go there and tell these people anything, because if I go, they gonna take me out. And God was like, I didn't ask you that. I told you to go, but did I tell you to stay? Go and get out. Go and move. Let exercise wisdom. So yeah, if God was to give us the ability to put our paws on people, and he can because you ask him, you'll be 30 minutes into it and find yourself like, man, that was you, not God. That was you getting all your anger and aggression and all your emotions, because aside from the facts, we're going to put some emotion in there because we passionate, because we clay, because and even in the book of Job, it says, you know, God knows that man is like that and man gonna sin, and we got some flaws, y'all. And it's like, man, God, you love me despite my flaws, but you gonna have to forgive me for that, because I went 30 minutes into beating the crap out of this person when you told me beat the love into him. You know, they sitting there trying to figure out why they mouth tastes so funny. I slapped my name out their mouth. You weren't supposed to do that. You were supposed to, with love and kindness, draw them. But you took it upon yourself, and you know God gonna forgive you, but you still gotta reap what you sow. Yeah, that was the one of the major points of Job. God forgave him, but he still had to reap. And there was a reaping, a great weeping. And just because you upset about it, it's like it didn't change anything. Just because you were better than everybody else in the land, it didn't change anything. And then to make a comparison that, oh, well, those people, they don't even believe and they don't even care, but they get my blessing. They got my blessing. That's one of the things Job has said. And he was like, well, how they get my blessing? And I know it's a blessing because God gave it to me, and it was blessing for me. And it's like way back then, if you know the era, it was like, what was the emphasis of the 7 she asses? Why was that such a significant emphasis, especially when he had so many uncountable other oxen and animals and things to build his wealth. What was the importance of that? You got to understand the power of a good woman. It was only 7 of them, and the donkeys had a more significant strength, even though it was a smaller animal. Y'all gotta, I know we ain't trying to read though. I understand, I get it. But anyway, it's not just, a democracy that we're talking about these days and women's rights that we're talking about these days. That's not the only thing we're talking about right now. We're talking about any man who disagrees with the man in leadership. That's what we're talking about right now. And a lot of people are trying to distract you from that because they want you to trust the people that you come to trust, who you told to trust. They say you ain't gonna read. You ain't gonna read. You're only gonna read what has been contrived for you to read. So you're not gonna study to show yourself approved. To study to show yourself approved means you are reading different things. And not only that, but you praying and seeking more of God, and God is enlightening you. He's edifying you. And edification is for the whole person, not just for the moment to answer a few questions that's currently taking place or something that has taken place already. It's for a deeper implication than that. And a lot of times we're not contrived they haven't contrived a curriculum that can help you to understand that, because that goes completely against the ability to predict your behavior, to predict and control. And that's what it was all contrived for, such a time as the 2025 or Project 2025. Now, it's written even in the Bible that such a time will come, and this is the era you live in. Imagine that. You know how them folks is always ringing them bells talking about the end is nigh, the end is nigh, get saved, get right, the end is nigh. Well, that's what they call a dictatorship in a democracy. Yeah, the end is nigh. But I greatly appreciate my bishop of the Church of God in Christ, J. Drew Shear, because he's not fake. He tries to be what he believes God called him to be, and he's humble, not bragging about all he's done in the churches and with the leaders that were known to be positive leaders in the faith. It's like so many people want all this acknowledgement, all this acclaim, all this man's award, and hyping them up and amping them up. But if you go back and look at these sacred books, you'll find that wasn't the way. That wasn't the way. And Jesus could have at any point in time went to the synagogues, which was the highest places on earth for Jesus to go, and make a declare decree. I am the Son of God. You gonna listen and follow me. He didn't do that. He said, okay, well, whoever will, let them come. I'm gonna show y'all the way, and then I'm gonna leave some people here so y'all know what the way is. I'm gonna leave all these examples so y'all all know when you ready, if you want, this is what it is, if that's your desire. But you got free will, do whatever you want with it, because God ain't taking it back. Job found that out the hard way. God ain't taking back what he give you. I'm just saying. So when we see Kamala, she went to Bishop J. Drew Shear's church. We saw a different way. We saw Trump go to church. He went to a black church. We saw that. We saw it. But something in your discernment was like, man, what am I picking up here? What did you see Kamala go? Did you observe what happened when she went? She did exactly what we know we're supposed to do. Acknowledge what? Reverence God, acknowledge your leadership, acknowledge the leadership of which you were raised under, which you were brought up under. Come on now. We didn't see that with the other one because that's awkward to them. That's not common. That's not commonplace. That tells you right there. Even the devil Even the devil went to God in heaven. He knew how to act. Even the devil go to church. He sits up in there every Sunday because he's welcome. A lot of people bring him with him. He even know how to act. That is not of God. Y'all doing stuff that the devil wouldn't even do or didn't even do. I'm gonna put it that way. He didn't even do that. When the devil went to God to tempt him to go against Job, who was known to be the most righteous man in the land, he was escorted. He didn't just walk up in there like, hey, I'm about that life. I'm doing what I want to do because God let me. I got a whole world that he prepared for me. So I'm better than bigger than all of y'all. And I'm come up in here whenever I want because I can come and go like that. He didn't do that because there's an orthodox way. There's reverence. And it's like you're not walking up in because he knows he can't buck. But he can get us to use our free will to do that. Then he laugh. And people don't like to be laughed at. Who else is doing something to make you use your free will so you can be laughed at? People don't want to be laughed at. And that's why you have this situation where people are bucking against the whole do what I say when I say, even if I tell you to take this bullet while I sit here and put you in harm's way, while I mess with your mental health and well-being and do everything I possibly can and then laugh at you because you did what I told you to do. You did what I told you to do, and you better do what I tell you to do because you gave me your free will, your blind followership. And people are saying, nah, we're not going back to that. We had a period of time in American history where we did that. It didn't work out. It didn't work out for many reasons. What happened, church leaders? What happened to, giving a holy and separate life, as example for the followers? What happened to that? What happened to us saying in the world, they fighting against women in the world, but that's not biblical. So in the church, the place we established for God, we don't do that. And Kamala Harris is welcome here. Not only is she welcome here, but we're going to pray. So yeah, Bishop J. Drew Sheard is a real one. He a real one. And I saw that a long time ago. And I appreciate him coming on and posting new leads since COVID and trying to help people and reach people in different ways online using social media. I appreciate that because we need that kind of voice outside of just the faith place establishments, the brick and mortar establishments. We need it out here where people can hear those people who know. That's what I'm saying. The facts. I'm not trying to tell you to go to Bishop Andrew Shake's church and become a member. I'm not saying subscribe and follow or like. I'm telling you, these are facts. These are facts that's triggered your discernment without anybody telling you anything. It's triggered your discernment. What you say, Eddie? Folks can disagree with. Hey, I'm a put it like this. If you didn't see Jesus do it, and you calling yourself a believer of God, and you trying to lead people, if Jesus didn't do it and you doing it, everybody has already discerned what you are and who you are. It's only a matter of time because their spirit gonna compel them to say, we don't want to go that route. We don't want to die an eternal death. So another one of the things you have to come to understand is we don't want women being fought by the very men they're the helpmeet for. Hello. Fight for women's lives like women ride and die fighting for our men. Fight for us. Because it come a time when even women over 50, I'm not there yet, but I'm just saying, I think that was a really bogus statement for somebody to say women over 50 shouldn't get an opinion because they ain't got no right, no dog in the fight. Yes, they do. Even more so, because if a woman over 50 gets pregnant and she's having some complications in that pregnancy, you've already conditioned her man to fight against her and contrived his behavior to go against her and let her die. Y'all might not understand what it's for, but you got to try harder to see the bigger picture. That's what Big Mama used to try to knock the sense into us. What she just curse you out, say, listen to the content and the context the words are being used in. So basically what she's saying is, if you're going to have a singular focus on what's being conveyed despite everything. Despite the glam and the glitz, the temptation for, oh, what you gonna get out of it if you do, even though you wrong, even though you know you wrong. Don't do that. Focus on what's being said through actions, through words, and that follow up, that follow through. Watch that. Watch that. And what you say, Henry? Yes, Winning Spiritual Wars has a G. Thank you. I appreciate you putting that book on there, because I'm terrible with names and it's not on purpose. That's why I write notes. See, I'm just saying, I ain't perfect. I know my flaws and I ain't mad to admit them. I'll tell you real quick, it wasn't me, it was God. I promise you it was, because I ain't even into it like that. I abhor school. And that's the irony of what God has done. I'm just telling you, what he's done in me is just irony, because it's like God was like, oh, you abhor school? I got some for you. You're going to love this. You're going to think this is hilarious. I'm like, I'm not laughing, but okay. I'm going to do what you want me to do. But I see you got jokes. You got jokes. Yeah, you funny. But binge watch my previous episodes. Let me link things together for you via your viewing, which was created to help improve mental health by making some things make sense, as it all applies to your whole person, your mind, body, and soul in these modern times and in your day to day. I'm just one person volunteering to do what I can. But remember, pray God give it to you, because only he can in the first place. And if he gave it to me, somebody who abhors school and who is like, man, look, I ain't got time for this. I don't want to be bothered with them people. I don't want to be bothered with this madness. I don't want to play with people. I don't want to do it. And God said, you know what? You the one. You don't want to do it, because it's a challenge. It's funny. It's going to be ironic and it's going to be hilarious, because you say you don't want to do what? Okay. Now, it wasn't necessarily that I said, oh, I don't want to. It was the matter of the fact that, much like Jonah in the belly of the whale, he came to conclude that in this life, regardless of what it is that we like or whatever, we're going to do. When we decided as a seed fighting to get from A to B, to get through that A, we had this innate ability to thrive. And we've been fighting that same fight since. And until God raptures us or lays us down for that eternal rest, this is what we do. This is just what we do. And God didn't ask you to like it. He didn't ask you to love it. He didn't even ask you to understand it. And you best not question. But at the same time, he loved you enough to understand your flaws. And in your flaws, you're going to do some of them irritating things. And I said, don't do it. We all do it. Just like I said when I said I asked why. And I don't mean to ask why, because I ain't trying to get bobbled. I'm just saying. Yes, was that the name of Pastor Henry's book? Make sure you check the comments so we can link that book in there, so you too can know why. Why is a problem for people of color. Why is this bucking against people of color? Why now is it also a bucking against women? Women who we as scientists can't even we will study a woman, but we still, just like the depths of the earth, not the earth but the ocean. And it's funny because God do these little things, and I know it's probably not, not, thought of it that way, but everybody always say how a woman is smell is she smell like fish, she smell like the harbor. And it's like scientists and go and try to research a woman to find out more and how her intricacies work. And we go into the ocean and we try to explore how that works and what's going. And the deeper you dive, you can't survive and you could die trying. But and then you go and you try to explore a woman to that depth, and it's like, man, we're not going to be able to control anything, and if we try, we can accidentally kill her. The irony of the repetition of this kind of give and take, this kind of ability to try to learn and study things. But when you do it for the purpose of life and love, then it's more effective for a positive effect. But when we do it to try to and manipulate, it fails. It fails because God know what you're doing. He know what you did it for. So the purpose of us saying the call and response is to help people to understand, we see what you're doing. Even if the men in the women's lives, because I saw that there was a thing where people was like, these women are going and voting and they're canceling out their husband's vote if they're voting for Trump because they want the rights to their own body and their health, despite what any man may say. So they're going to vote for Kamala. And it's like, instead of us always trying to perpetuate some sort of competition against each other, understand the call and response is we not going back because it just didn't work out. Adam knew that. That's why he didn't buck against Eve when she made the decision that she made, which caused a whole lot of problems thereafter. He was like, man, I can't buck against it. Now we got to just work this thing out, see it through. That's where we are. We have to work it out, see it through, and stop trying to buck up against one another because we are each other's strength. We can't do it alone. You need me and I need you. And I have flaws and you have flaws. But like a puzzle, we fit together perfectly the way it's supposed to. So that's been my time, and excuse my way of going back and forth and being distracted by different things that you may not see I'm distracted by, and then my conversation may vary from it. But remember, I'm just one person, and this whole camera and lights thing, I'm just trying to get it in there. I've been doing this all my life. I've been running from it all my life. So, if you enjoyed the show, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, push the notification button, share. But more importantly, I challenge you to watch each episode 3 times and try to get an understanding for yourself. And the books that I suggest you read, which is very few, try to read it and come to an understanding for yourself. Don't listen to what no one else said. Pray and get an understanding of your own. And just because you pray to God don't mean you have a religion. It just means you have an understanding that there's a greater being other than man and woman. Find out what he's saying to you. That's all. That's my show. Remember, mental health is physical wealth.